All right, folks. Today we're going to talk about fiction. We're talking about really short stories and novels. So we have some videos on poems and plays and nonfiction. Okay, so some big ideas to think about in fiction, novels, and short stories. First is setting, right? The time and place of the story being told, and that's something you've heard about your whole life, right? Like mid '60s New York City, right? Or futuristic dystopian society where flying cars, but the government is in charge of everything and everyone's lives are horrible. The other thing you want to think about when you think about setting are the values associated with that setting. What are the people that live there like? What are their customs? What are their beliefs? Um, what do you notice about their culture? Okay, so start thinking about that when you start thinking about setting as well. What do you get a sense of these people? Okay, the next one is character, and honestly, character is probably the most important thing in short stories and novels, right? We watch movies and we read books and quite frankly have conversations with each other because we enjoy that character, that person, right? They make us laugh, they make us think, they challenge us, they make us grow, they make us feel safe, they frustrate us to the point we want to see them change, so we keep watching or reading to see if that happens, right? Characters kind of drive everything that we read. When you think about a character, you want to think about how characters are developed. How are they created? That's through dialogue, what they say to other characters, their actions, what do they do in the story, physical descriptions, their beliefs, right? Their motivations, what makes them do the things that they are doing in there, and complexities, right? Nobody is perfect. Everybody, and nobody is completely flawed or evil. We all have some greatness to us, and we all have some things that we wish weren't there. And the same is for characters. Um, and that's what makes characters complex. It makes them interesting. It makes us want to read more about them. Finish the story. Finish the novel. Okay, let's think about those things. All right. The other thing you want to think about is the narrator, the person telling the story. What point of view is it being told from? Is it first person, where it's a character in the story actively participating? Is it second person? Not very often in short story, but you're being told the events like directions. You then use that. If any of you read Choose Your Own Adventure back in the day, I hope you did. I did. That's second person. And then third person, where we have a narrator who's not necessarily in the story, but they know the story and they're relaying the events to us. All right. Is that narrator reliable? Do you trust the story that they are telling? Or is there something about them, something about their character or their views that would make them not trustworthy? Because that's a new topic probably for a lot of you. Can I trust the person telling me the story? We think about that a lot of times in nonfiction. Is the source credible, right? Is this a credible source? Can I use it? Can I trust it? We don't think about that so much with our narrators in fiction, but there are some stories that are created like that for you to not trust the narrator, and it creates a really interesting reaction to the story when you get those. All right. The way the narrator speaks, their diction, their word choice, their syntax, the way the sentences are on the page, and how are they long, are they short, are they scientific words, are they emotional words? Um, all of those things reveal something about the narrator as a character or about their perspective. Okay, and this is also true in poetry. So is the poem, is the diction and syntax in the poem, are they using same kind of words, easy to understand words, concrete images, are they scientific, are they very long words? All those things have an effect. Are they long sentences or short sentences? Are they long lines or short lines in a poem? All those things have effect, and it teaches you about the speaker in a poem, and in a fiction it teaches you, or in short stories and novels, teaches you about the narrator. Obviously the language that the writer uses is important, the figurative language, the imagery. um, these will give you shortcuts to really understand what the character's thinking, or what the narrator's thinking or seeing. Allusions are kind of new here, right? Allusions are references to uh, specific events or people or places. Um, and so whenever you see an allusion, we usually think of them as shout outs in hip hop or rap. It's to make a quick connection to something, and that quick reference helps us understand what the writer is trying to say a little bit better. Obviously, there's symbols in poem or in fiction and non-fiction, short stories and novels, and comparisons as well. Okay, structure. when you think about a short story or novel, we have a sequence of events, right? The plot. And in that, there can be some other things, flashbacks, right? Can be important. Foreshadowing. Are the events happening in order or out of order? That matters. Are there subplots? Are there so many characters in the story that there's other things happening to other characters? Because that's really a big difference between a novel and a short story. The short story is usually focused on a few characters, or maybe just one character, whereas a novel, you can get more characters in there, and a lot of those minor characters have their own lives and challenges they're going through. Right, they're subplots. Okay, so how is it structured? Is it just a straight beginning to end story? Do you get some flashback? You start at the end and you have to go to the beginning and piece it together. All those things will help you understand the story better than the novel or short story. And then if you miss something, like, whoa, when did that happen? You could lose the whole plot, right? So those things make it more complex. Do you also have multiple narrators telling the story? Does it start with like one person in a like one person, the couple, like the boyfriend, and then the next chapter is the girlfriend? That also creates some challenges for readers. So those are things you want to think about so you can better read, better understand the text in front of you. Multiple narrators. Okay, short stories and novels. We already kind of talked about plays and poems in another video, so I'm really just going to talk about short stories and novels. Short in length, right? Usually a couple of characters. We kind of talked about that already. But everything is so relevant, right? Because it takes place so quickly. So usually the point about this is to capture like a strong feeling or unique character and kind of go through that quickly and make a quick point about theme or about something about life, right? By focusing on one character in a brief moment. And the novels usually are super take place over a longer period of time. There's more characters. You don't get to that complexity right away. It kind of builds over time, and they're more well developed because it's longer, right? And like I said earlier, you could have subplots in there as well. So you want to be thinking about those things in a novel. The novel sometimes stays with you longer, or you feel like you get to know them better. Sometimes you get to the end of a novel and you feel like a character is almost like a friend, right? Someone you know inside and out. And so that's kind of the beauty of a novel. Whereas the characters in a short story, they're usually like a gut punch, like, oh, wow, right? I felt that for that person, but it's more like an intense feeling for that person versus in a novel, you feel like you kind of get to know the characters a little bit more. And like I said, they're kind of like a friend, someone you could have a conversation with at the table if they came to your house, right? So that's kind of the difference between the novel and the short story in terms of character development. But all these things, right? All these choices up here are working to get to theme. Okay, and definitely in a novel, you're gonna have more than one theme, more than one lesson about life or takeaway from about life that the writer wants you to know. Short stories may have those, but since they're shorter, there may just be one theme. But in a novel, you definitely want to kind of keep your eye out for more than one. Okay, and all these things are the clues to what the theme is. What does the writer want you to know about life that you may not already know, or that you might be reaffirmed in knowing from your own life experiences? Okay, so that's a video about short stories and novels. I hope that helps you, and I hope you read some really great short stories and novels this year. And you got a new favorite friend that you meet at the end of one of those novels that you kind of really feel like you relate to.